Hello everybody and welcome back. It has been a very long time since I have talked to you guys. I am going to be making today a Halloween wreath. I have one already made, but I've started to start putting one on my outside closet door on my patio because I can be seen from the street, as well as on my front door. And so I was in the Dollar Tree, surprise, surprise, and went ahead and picked up the supplies to make a new wreath this year. So I usually remake my wreaths every couple of years when they start kind of looking raggedy, or if I see something that I really like, I will go ahead and get the stuff to make a new wreath. So you're gonna need basically a wreath form. This one is from the Dollar Tree. I think all of my supplies, not all of my supplies are Dollar Tree. So a wreath form, and this is a 14-inch wreath form here. And these are the ones that I use the most often for my wreaths, are the ones from the Dollar Tree. I do have some bigger ones that I've picked up at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or places like that. You're going to need some black chenille stems or black pipe cleaners. These came out of the section at Dollar Tree. And I like these because they're kind of sparkly, so I don't have to worry about hiding them so much. They can kind of serve as part of the decor of the wreath. I did find this and I really liked this one. So I went ahead and got, it's just a little hanging decoration type thing, but I really liked this one. It says Inquire inside. I'm really into doing the witches this year. I don't know what has struck my fancy, but it really has. I got some decorative picks. So these are just some glitter pumpkins. You can see all the light coming off of them. So glitter pumpkins, we're going to use those as some decoration. I got 5 rolls of black mesh. I really prefer using the mesh for my wreaths. So 5 rolls of black mesh. These are 6 inches wide and they're 5 yards each. So that's 25 yards of mesh there. You can also get them other places. So if you go to like Joann's, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, you can get a roll like this. And now this is obviously not the full roll, but I believe this is 6 inches and I can't remember how many yards. Let me see. This is my mesh bucket, so you can see all my different meshes that I have. This one came from At Home, and I think I got this at Halloween last year. And this is 30 feet by 10 inches. And then this one came from Hobby Lobby, and this one is 10 inches by 10 yards. And I think 10 yards is kind of what you usually get. This is the one I got to do my second summer wreath that I never finished. And then I have green, that's from Christmas. And then I think this is also from Christmas, or it may be from Halloween. I don't remember. So I just keep mine in a bucket like this, and then I can come. I've got some Christmas ones, some reds and some Valentines and things like that from years past that I haven't used yet. So anyway, that was kind of a tangent. So I did that, and then I also picked up several rolls of ribbon. So we have a purple and black striped one, which I really liked. We have ones with skulls and spider webs. So I thought that one was super cute. And then we have the cutesy one, which has the words and things like that on it. So it says open October, trick or treat, happy Halloween, beware, boo, eek. So all of that, and I think I got 2 each of those. I did. I got 2 each. And these are 9 foot, 2.5 inches by 9 feet. And they do have wired edges. I do prefer the wired edges for my wreaths because they just look prettier. When you get them done, they don't get floppy. The ribbon holds its shape because it has that wire edge on it. Now, the most exciting thing that I found at Dollar Tree, and those of you that have watched my channel Well, remember that I have been searching and searching for these. So I actually, I guess it was middle of last month, my best friend's husband asked me to go and pick up some Funko Pops that he had purchased. And it was someone that he was meeting here in the town that I live in. And he couldn't make it. So I was like, sure, no problem. I was going to meet him at a restaurant that I absolutely love. And so I went ahead and went over there, and I got there early, and so I was circling the parking lot trying to find somewhere to park because you can never find parking there. And I came across a brand new Dollar Tree that had just opened. So for those of you that don't know what a Dollar Tree is, it's you go into the store, everything is $1. You don't have to worry about the different prices and things like that. So you can go in, they do really, really good stuff on I buy a lot of stuff at Dollar Tree, but mostly like things like this. You cannot go to Joann's or Michael's even with a coupon and buy all of this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then $9 worth of stuff to make a wreath, and then the other 6, so 9 and 6, 15. $15 to make a Halloween wreath. You cannot do that there. So I like to buy this stuff from Dollar Tree. Now you usually have to get it early, and I had missed it this year. I actually wasn't going to make a wreath, and then when I found this new Dollar Tree, of course everything is stocked, and it was gorgeous, and it was everything was neat and put together. You could tell like where somebody had literally like taken one item off of the shelf because it was so well stocked. I could not pass it up. So I got all of this stuff came from the same Dollar Tree, which sometimes I have to go to different ones. That's the quirk of living in a city. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I have been looking for these containers that I had purchased way back when I very first started diamond painting almost a year ago. And so I'm in this new Dollar Tree and I'm looking around and I finally found them. So these little containers, they're 1 ounce containers, and they're actually over in the beauty section. And these will hold, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think they hold 1,700 or 17 of the little bags, 100 or 200, whatever that is. These hold a ton of diamond painting drills. Now, I had originally purchased 3 packs of these, so I had 9. And I saw these in the store, you guys, and I bought every one that they had, which they only had 5 sets. 5 packages, if I can get them out of the bag. Hold on. Time out. So I got a whole set here. So I think I have enough to make, this is 15, and then I had 9, so whatever that makes. So I think that's 24, which is just the same amount as comes in one of the Harbor Freight kits. So I now have 24 of these. These are great for when you have a whole lot of drills. I like to use these. These screw on, the lids screw on really well. I've never had any problem with them. They're very sturdy. They've been thrown around, all kinds of stuff. So I now have another set of diamond painting stuff, which is really cool. And then I just have like these little Sterilite square tubs. They're like the ones like you would put in a drawer to organize it. And I just put them in there. And they're nice and sturdy because they're the Sterilite brand. And that's what I use to hold those. And they stack and everything like that. So anyway, I was super excited. I know a lot of you have heard me talk about these. I've talked about these incessantly. I was super excited to find these. So there was a diamond painting find while I was there shopping for stuff that I didn't really need, but I needed. We all know that feeling. So what you're going to need today. Oh, one more thing. And I also have these. These were from last year. I found these at the Dollar Tree as well. They're just little pipe cleaner witch hats. This is pipe cleaner, and then this is felt. And I may have to, they're just little sticks. But I thought they were super cute. So I think I'm going to use these on this wreath maybe this year. And so I went ahead and pulled those out of my wreath closet. Yes, I have a wreath closet. So what you're going to need to do this is you're going to need, I use wire cutters to cut my pipe cleaners. And, oh, here they are. You're also going to need a pair of scissors to cut your mesh. Now, I am going to do a little bit different. So the last time when I did the summer wreath, and the reason I'm doing this is because so many of you guys really liked that summer wreath and we're super excited to see that video. So I'm doing this so that you guys have another way to make deco mesh wreaths. There's a ton of videos on YouTube, but this is the way that I do these. I've been doing this for, I guess I've been making my own wreaths since I left for college in 2004. So I don't know what it is. I always, growing up, was like, you know how like when you're growing up, you decide that you want things for your house. When you finally have your own house, you decide that I'm going to have this, or it's going to smell like this, or whatever. So a couple of my big things. My house might be messy, but it always smells good. That was really important to me. We grew up with dogs and things, and they smell like dogs sometimes. And as a kid, that's kind of embarrassing when you have friends over. And so one of my big things is how my house smells. So I've always got fragrances or candles or something like that going. I really enjoy having a house that smells good. I've found certain smells for certain seasons that I absolutely love and I go back to year over year. And then the other thing is, we would decorate for holidays and things, but there's literally a wreath on my door 365 days out of the year. It's a different wreath because I change it either for a holiday or for a season, but there is always a wreath on my door. I don't know why, but I just feel like it's really important to me. So it's kind of silly. Somebody that's a psychologist or whatever could probably tell me why I feel like I need to have a wreath on the door. But it also gives me a creative outlet, and it can be a pretty cheap creative outlet. So $15 or less than $20. All of this stuff for less than $20. We'll say that. So the last time I did this, I did it where we cut it and made spirals. And you guys really liked that. But this time what we're going to do is we're going to go old school. And we're going to go back to the original way that I learned to make mesh wreaths. And so what you do is you just kind of unroll it. And let me get my pipe cleaners out. I do try to have different colors of pipe cleaners that match my mesh, just because it makes it easier to hide them. But like I said, these are, black and they're kind of sparkly. Alright guys, sorry about that. I got a phone call because I forgot to put my phone on silent. So, and I now also have the football game on. So kind of bear with me if I am back and forth to the TV. Okay, so what I did, where we were at, is I take my pipe cleaners and I cut them up into thirds. So I just take one and just kind of eye it. I don't get like exact measurements or anything. And cut them into thirds like that to make my stems. I find that that's a good size, and it lets you use more of your pipe cleaner than is really necessary. So what you're going to do is you just take and you kind of gather your ends together, and then you are going to, what I do is I put mine through, and I always use one of these bars, these bracer section bars, and you just tie off your pipe cleaner, give it a good twist, like so, to secure that first section. So this is underneath, and once we get done, you won't be able to see all of that, so it won't be that big a deal. Then what you're going to do, and this is going to take, we're going to do this in layers. So what we're going to do is we are going to kind of gather and puff. So you let it kind of do its thing. The mesh will do a lot of the work for you, which is the good thing about using the mesh. And then you just twist it. And I kind of do like a zigzag back and forth. And we will be putting on a second row. A lot of people, there's a lot of different ways to do this, guys. This is just the way that I prefer to do it. Like I said, this may not be the right way, but this is what I prefer. And when you do it this way, it allows your mesh to kind of form itself. And I am alternating which post that I put my mesh on, that I connect it to with the pipe cleaner. So we're just going to do this. You can condense this and make it really thick. It's up to you what size that your loops are. I do, what is it, about 4, maybe 5 inches each. And again, I'm going to go back and put on another layer. So just kind of play with it if you're not used to using the mesh, and you will figure it out real quickly what works for you and what doesn't. So I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to go all the way around, and I'm going to speed this part up for you, and then I will come back to you when we get ready to put on our second row. So I am almost back around to the beginning, and actually doing it this way seems to make it a lot denser. So when I'm talking about that, when I hold it up, you see how you can see the wreath form through the mesh? We don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to I kind of keep pushing and just kind of packing those sections in just a little bit, so that it just has a little bit more of a denser fill. So what I'm going to do, this section over here I think looks pretty good. Once we get some of the other stuff on here, like the ribbon and things, it's going to hide a lot of that wreath form that you can see. So I'm actually going to pretty much use this section right here. I'm going to add another roll to add a 4th roll, and then I may add some more over here just a little bit, just to kind of fluff this section up. So what I'm doing, you saw me kind of zigzagging back and forth, kind of pushing it together to make it look nice and dense. And then what you want to do, one of the things I forgot to say, is you want to try to keep your loops fairly consistent sizes. So you don't want them to have like bulges in different places. You want it to kind of fairly be consistent all the way through. So if you use, if you take out a 4 or 5 inch section, then, sorry, I'm drinking out of my Christmas mug, even though I'm doing a Halloween wreath. Mostly because I couldn't find my Halloween mug. So that's one of the big things that you want to do. You saw me adjusting a couple of times to kind of get the right amount, the right length and things like that. I don't get real precise. It really is up to the wreath maker how you want to do this. This is the original way that I learned to make wreaths. So this was the way that or at least deco mesh wreaths, this was the first way that I learned. So I'm just gathering up the ends and kind of go through here. I have basically if I have a pipe cleaner already on the wreath that I can use to attach these ends, and that's what I'm doing, just to kind of conserve some of the pipe cleaner. Sorry guys, I'm watching football. I actually am one of those girls. I really like football. So, we're just going to keep going like this. And make sure that All the holes are getting filled. If you're good with spatial type things, you should definitely be able to do this. This is a lot of, or at least my method of doing this is, you know, it's not an exact method. It's a creative outlet. So it's just kind of eyeing it, honestly. And if you don't like what you see, make the adjustments and go from there. So you just keep adding. Oh, touchdown! Woohoo! I'm trying not to be too loud because I don't want my neighbors to wonder what's going on if I'm being murdered or something over here. I actually have had neighbors before. I live in an apartment, and it wasn't at this apartment. It was at one I lived at previously. And I think we were playing... If I remember, my team is Texas Tech. I'm a Texas Tech graduate. And my Red Raiders were playing, I think they were playing TCU. And it was one of those games, I think we went into like 3 or 4 overtimes. And it was just back and forth. It was a really, really excellent game. I really enjoyed those games more than ones where you're just like blowing your opponent out of the water. And I was getting really into it. It was a nail biter, definitely. And it was, of course, it was a Saturday night. And I was yelling at the TV at the football game, like they could hear me, like I was in the stadium. And I didn't, I guess, realize how loud I had actually gotten. And I'm usually a very quiet neighbor. I don't, you know, tend to make a lot of noise. I don't play loud music, do things like that, you know, I don't have a pet to bark or anything like that, a dog to bark or anything. And so my neighbors, who rarely heard a peep out of me, heard a bunch of yelling. And they thought that there was something wrong, that like somebody had broken in, or I was having a fight with somebody or something like that. And so they called the cops. And so right at the very end of the game, I'm yelling and I hear this knock on my door, and I'm thinking, okay, well, one of the neighbors has come over to like tell me to calm down, to be quiet. I was getting too loud, and it was, you know, it wasn't late. It was, you know, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And the next thing I hear is, you know, the town police department. And so I go and I open the door, and then I hear something on the TV, and I turn around and I start yelling at the TV again. And the cops start laughing. And they're like, ma'am, we're here to do a well check. One of your neighbors called the cops because they heard a bunch of yelling. And he's like, I obviously see what the yelling was about now. And he's like, but we have to check the apartment. Is everything okay? You know, so I had to let him come in, basically check the apartment to make sure that there wasn't like somebody hiding or something. They got a good chuckle out of it. They watched the end of the game with me. And needless to say, the next time I tried to be a little more quiet. I did, I made up some little bags with some candy in them, and took them to my immediate neighbors. It was like a block of 4. And I took them to my neighbors to apologize and to tell them, hey, you know, it's just football season. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so needless to say, I get a little into it. Some games. This one we're winning pretty handily so far. So I don't think there will be probably any yelling going on. A lot of you probably don't care what I'm talking about. I love football. So I can get really into it. I can talk about it. Alright, so this is what our wreath looks like. And it actually, I think what I'm going to do is, instead of adding more mesh here or into this section right here, I think this is where I'm going to do my big bow. So I'm actually going to leave that blank. But you can see, guys, this is a big wreath. I mean, that's 14-inch wreath form. I think you can probably see, hopefully you can see where the wreath form ends. So you can see the mesh does stick out quite a bit. So this is what my wreath looks like right now. So the next thing that we're going to add on, what I'm going to add on, is I'm going to go ahead and add my center piece. Now you can do this several different ways. You can do it in the center. You can do it off to one side. I could technically, if I wanted to, I could hang it from the bottom. But I'm actually going to go, I like a good centered decoration. So let me find that low spot, that empty spot, which I think is probably right in here. And I'm just going to kind of separate out. This is where my bow was going to go, up here at the top. So I'm going to attach this, and I just use the strings that it comes with. And I do wrap this one, instead of wrapping it just around one post, I'm going to wrap it around two, just to give it a little more security. Because if this thing starts flapping around in the wind, I have lost one of these before. It came off the wreath because I didn't have it secured well enough. So, come on, guys. Oh, for fuck's sake. That was a 73-yard kickoff return. Not by us. Sorry. And pardon my French, by the way. So yeah, so we're just going to kind of do it like that. And then it hangs down. And there will be a big bow here to kind of hide some of that. So that's our second step there. Then what we're going to do is we are going to take our ribbon and we're going to start adding in our ribbon. Now, I also thought they make this like mesh tubing that I have on some of my wreaths, and I thought I had some, but I cannot find it. So we won't have the mesh tubing like I would normally use. I think I used some of it for the wreath that I had for fall, or for summer. So with the ribbon, what we're going to do is I'm going to set this to the side over here. And my sections need to be about 10 inches long. So I'm actually going to lay out some pipe cleaners so that I can kind of get a good measure there. And then you just cut your ribbon. And then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just use the first one that I cut, so they're relatively the same length. Some people get really exact with this. I don't really feel like that's necessary, because once you get it on the wreath, you can't tell anyway. But if it's too short, it looks silly. So definitely make sure it's long enough. I usually do about 8 to 10 inches, if not a little bit longer than that. So, and I will do this for the whole roll. So you can see the last little bit is not quite long enough. It's only about half the length of what I need. So I'm just going to put that to the side. I might use that in the bow later on. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to take some of this with the writing on it. We're going to kind of do the same thing. That's my problem. I'm gonna get it together over here. And this is probably a little bit longer than what I actually need. But like I said, I would rather it be too long. You'll be able to see quite a bit of the ribbon rather than just the mesh. You can add as much or as little ribbon as you want. I like a lot of ribbon personally. I feel like a lot of the decoration of the wreath comes out in your ribbon. There we go. That should be one long one. So this one might be a little bit longer than the others, but that's okay. So then what you're going to do is I like to put my ribbon together like this. So you lay it just directly on top of each other, and then you fold it in half like so. And you're going to cut from the middle of your ribbon to the outside corner at an angle like this. And that's just going to give your ribbon some nice pointy tails. And I found if you just do it this way, it goes a lot faster, and it just gives your wreath a nice finished look. It doesn't have to be perfect. So as you can see, you have that. Ooh, that was not a good cut. Okay, at least on that one. We're just gonna go ahead and leave it because it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I always say, you don't have to be perfect. So when I do this, I just line up my ends as best as possible. You can make that angle as sharp as you want. Go. And you do not have to do this step. That's a personal choice, but that's what I prefer to do. This ribbon reminded me of Beetlejuice. First down. I'm not quite sure why. I'm sure somebody has seen it. I really need to watch Beetlejuice. I haven't seen it in years. It really should be a Halloween movie that I watch every year. I have a couple of favorites. Of course, I love Hocus Pocus. But my favorite Halloween type movie, if you want to do it that way, is actually Practical Magic is my favorite. So I watch that one every year, and then of course Hocus Pocus, you know, which runs basically on a constant loop on, I think it's Freeform now. It used to be ABC Family, and then it was CW. I don't even know what it was. But yeah, they pretty much run that constantly on those. So I do those. I'm trying to think, do I want to use this or not? We'll come back to this ribbon here. I may use it, I may not. So what we're going to do is, normally what I would do is I would take and I would lay these on top of each other, and you just kind of gather them up in the middle, and you kind of bend it to where it's going to, you know, flow upwards. And then you're going to go into some of these sections where the pipe cleaners are, and you're going to use the pipe cleaners that are already in here. And you're just going to lay your ribbon on top and then make another twist. So they're pointing up like this in a V shape, and you just lay the ribbon in the center and then twist it on top of the ribbon again. And then you can fluff out your ribbon. So you can see how much space that takes up there. So I'm just going to go around. I'm going to alternate which one is on top. And at this point, really, it's just a kind of a search and find. Come on, boys, settle. you can just kind of play with your ribbon. We'll come back and fluff it again at the end. So, and I do kind of bend it so it's got kind of an upward motion. Give it a couple of twists there. Next section. I'm just kind of trying to purple evenly space these as much as possible. You don't want it to be exactly matching on each side. Doesn't have to be even unless your OCD just demands that it is. Again, this is all personal choice. So we're going to do that. And remember, our huge bow is going to be up here. I do have a very large bow to add. So I've got a hole here. And it looks like I've got a hole here. So I'm going to add those last two sections there into those spots. Like I said, if you're satisfied with like that amount of ribbon, that's all you have to add. This is completely and totally up to you. Again, I like a whole lot of ribbon. There's the other end. Oof. Okay. I got one more strip of purple. And since I have two strips of the colored here, we'll just layer all three of those together. No big deal. Oh. And gonna cheat a little bit here. Just kind of do that. Okay. Then, because this is wired ribbon, you just kind of have to play with it and fluff it a little bit. Kind of slide your mesh around as you need to. Do all the things. If you want your ribbon to go a different direction, if you go down to the base of it, just kind of give it a little twist. It'll kind of move around as it needs to. Or as you want it to. Just like that. You can see I made it go a different direction. And then you just kind of fluff it. No big deal. There we go. Okay. So then we do have the witches' hats and the pumpkins. And I think I'm actually going to do my bow up top and then come back to and add these in at the end. But basically, I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably take these pumpkins and cut down the stem just a little bit and then just kind of slide it in and set it right here in the center where my ribbons are attached just to kind of hide that divot there. Okay. So here we go with the bow. And I will use the skull ribbon because I didn't use it. So I just take one of each of my ribbons. Find the opening somewhere. And let's see if I can remember how to do this. I'll be right back.